Live streaming is on.
And I think we're on. Yes, we are live now. Great. Awesome. Okay, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We are the Pennsylvania Pirate Party.
Plus
Um,
one.
plus one. As usual, though, AJ is one of our added guests. My name is Drew Bingaman. I am the captain of the PA Pirate Party. Johnny?
I'm Johnny Robinson, the secretary and quartermaster of the Pirate Party.
Thank you. AJ?
I am Anthony J. I am the national chair of the Pirate Party. You can also call me the captain if you want. Either works.
I like captain, but it doesn't matter.
Fair enough. I mean, either way, it grows my massive ego.
There you go. There you go. And that's something that every 20-something needs.
Exactly.
All right, guys. So, as I talk to people about the Pirate Party and the Pennsylvania Pirate Party, one thing just keeps coming back. A lot of people, and I would say, I'm a either a late Gen X or a early millennial. They call my era the Zennials. So I'm finding that people that are younger than me don't have an issue with the pirate name. I'm finding that people older than me are much more likely to have a problem with it. So I guess the question is, why pirates? Why are we the Pirate Party? And not just because we're part of this international movement, but why do we call ourselves pirates? I would like to make sure that we take care of the 21st century context, which, a lot of older people are not going to understand necessarily unless we spell it out for them. Because when they think pirates, they think, they think pirates on the high seas. And while there are a lot of things that we have in common with the pirates of old, we are pirates of new. So, yeah, so that's what I'd like to talk about today, and I think helping everybody see what's going on with that. What do you have for me, AJ?
Yeah. So I think the best way to sort of start, I guess, Pirate Party apologetics, defending the faith, is just going over the history, right? The Pirate Party is an international movement that was founded in the 2000s, which is around 20 years now, because I'm 20 and I was born in 2002. Just reminding everybody. So, we get back to this, and this is when the internet became so large that people were that what you did online and your digital behavior was starting to matter, and that there were conversations about it. So this is when the copyright crackdown happened. Things like Napster. People were, correct me if I'm wrong, but I've heard stories of people getting sued, just these massive amounts for things they didn't even think too much about, and crazy stuff like that were really, serious government abuses, with these companies were colluding with the government to commit these massive abuses, and making sure that they were protected, and all of this stuff was happening to just regular people that just wanted to download a couple songs and didn't think anything of it. And then you had other things like the Patriot Act in the US and all these other things, and governments around the world were really starting to realize that they could use all this 21st century technology to do really not great stuff to their citizens. And this is the environment in which the Pirate Party was formed, and that's why our first mission was sort of, to strike back against and raise awareness of these, modern technological forms of authoritarianism that are out there. And that's why we have the name the Pirate Party, because one of those things was the crazy ways people were treated over copyright and patents and things like that. And I think the story that we give, I don't think it's exactly how it went. I wasn't there. I don't know. But the story we kind of give on our website, there's a brief, the uspirates.org website is a brief kind of explainer is, look, people were going to say really nasty things about us and our party anyway because we were going against the status quo, and we had a few ideas that were considered radical, like saying that people should be able to download songs off the internet without crazy consequences coming to them. So the way that I think the founders of the international pirate movement saw it was, they're going to call us pirates in a weird derogatory way anyway. Might as well just get ahead of it and, almost reclaim it. Now it's not as serious as other things you could reclaim. So that's, just sort of a joke, but that was sort of the idea. And yeah, it might be a little silly, but it works, and it has worked for 15 plus years. I think we're 16 years old. The Swedish pirate party is a little bit older than us, and then a few, all the other pirate parties followed suit. So that is my introduction.
So I guess the thing is really to really spell things out for a lot of people that are you touched on it a lot there, AJ, but really defining what is piracy in the 21st century versus in the 20th century. I think what a lot of people would when they think of piracy, especially when it comes to music and movies, they think of bootlegs that they would buy. In the 80s and 90s, you could buy bootleg cassette tapes or video cassettes that were bootleg copies and not official copies from the copyright holders of music and of video, and a lot of those things were also traded freely during that time. Making mixtapes for somebody. I remember I had a videotape that had like 6 movies on it that we recorded off of television. So that to me, that's personal use. I wasn't making any money off of those tapes. I was just wearing them out, listening to them over and over again. So most people never really crossed into what I would consider the commercial piracy line before the whole Napster quote unquote crisis. And I never, and honestly, it was completely overblown. The sharing of music, especially music, some video, during that time, where people were fined for sharing music that was in their own personal collection, where they were not making money on this. And I think that was a complete and massive overreach by government and corporations. And for the most part, the video industry, the movie industry, and the music industry now mostly have the online stuff figured out. Nobody really downloads music anymore, and people stream video. So, as far as I'm concerned, the major reasoning for the DMCA, the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, is gone because the industry's figured it out.
Well, we say the industry figured it out, but the industries have a distressing tendency of forgetting what they figured out sometimes.
That's true, but I never did see a crisis in piracy.
A crisis for everyone except for short-sighted executives in corporations. Mm-hmm. For them, it's a crisis, but lots of things are a crisis for them.
Right. They needed to reimagine their revenue streams.
Yes.
And so instead of selling physical media, they needed to embrace the digital side of things and understand that people sharing music that they had been music and movies, which they had been doing for the past 20 plus years before that, was only promoting their product. And most people were not selling massive amounts of copies on tape or even CD, bootleg copies, bootlegs of a live performance, maybe some people sold, but that is such a small part of it, and those things were never really recorded or released anyways. So that's all. I don't know. I think it is. I see it as fair use. But
one of the great lessons of the modern age is the most effective way of combating piracy in this context is by making it easy to legally download it.
Mhm.
Or
Piracy
just providing
only
a better service than piracy can. I mean, that's the whole ethos of Spotify, right? Paying for Spotify is so much easier and just a much more pleasant experience than scrolling the internet for it. And that's really, again, that's what it goes where we're coming from. And just in general, sort of the issue is there wasn't much of an issue here, right? But I don't want us to get too ahead of ourselves here, because I do think that people can look at this and still think, oh, that's a little silly because it's just one main issue. We might have started because a bunch of people were very copyright skeptical coming out of this situation, but that's not necessarily a reason to name yourself after a silly derogatory term for people that break a certain law, right? But where I want to go with this and why we did and why it still holds up is where we get to from there. Because this, being one of the core issues that founded the Pirate Party, leads us to one of our really core, really central things, and that is sort of the free and open culture, right? Cultural liberalism considered from all sorts of other different angles that not everyone else considers, like the ability to freely share art that you like. And I think that's why the Pirate Party name has stuck around so long, because it's not that we're about copyright. I mean, I think people would be surprised how much we talk and how little we actually talk internally about copyright and how different the solutions are. Someone might pitch the 14-year model, someone else might be a total copyright abolitionist, someone else might not even believe in that. But the reason why the name sticks is because it led us to something really special, which is this idea of taking a step back and really, really considering and really, really being critical of all of the ways that, culture and sort of the more social aspects of our lives are controlled, whether that be from the government, whether that be from corporations, and what we can do to not just fight against that, but really understand it. A lot of parties that are similar to ours, I mean, they understand the need for there not to be some sort of controlling voice over culture, how people live their lives, but they essentially stop at things like just sort of general egalitarianism and LGBT plus rights and stuff like that. We also advocate for all of that, but we like to take it a step further and say, yeah, but there are all of these other things that you haven't even considered that get in the way of why people aren't allowed to properly live their lives the way they want. And that's why I think the name Pirate Party is stuck.
All right, Johnny, why don't you give us your
Sorry,
I've
I've steamrolled this
No,
conversation.
it's all good. It's all good.
The naming of political parties is fascinating, and someone could write a book about how political parties get their name and stuff like that. And I mean, pirate is transgressive. Even in its most modern form, it is a transgressive archetype.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay transgressing. I mean, I don't really have a problem with that. We are trying to make politics that's not normal. We're
Right.
trying to redefine what normal is in politics.
Mm-hmm.
And so it is in our best interest, and in fact, pretty much we're called upon to be provocative and disruptive in all aspects of our politics, because we can't affect good change doing it the same way the Democrats and Republicans do it.
Right.
We can't do it through the Democrats and Republicans. If we could, we'd be there, but we can't. So we're here, and we need something that is disruptive. And when you look at the history of pirates and piracy throughout the ages, modern and ancient, hey, we're not navies. We're not calling ourselves a Navy party. And I think, in the grand scheme of things, you want to talk about moral turpitude and sins and carnage and theft that's been done, I would put the record of pirates against navies any day of the week.
Absolutely.
And finally, we are the country that had a serious political party called the Bull Moose Party. Okay? Mm-hmm. We've had the Bull Moose Party that anyone can say pirates are too much after we had the friggin' Bull Moose Party is staggering to believe. Plus, we elected Donald Trump, and that just threw every sense of decorum out the window. We no longer have any call for decorum. We could call ourselves a Pikachu party and still be more dignified and more respectful of democratic processes than electing Donald Trump. We're still above the bar.
We couldn't call ourselves the Pikachu party because that would actually be a violation of copyright and
piracy.
We cannot advocate for people to break the law. We can only advocate that we change the law.
I like how you took the sip there, so we could input any audio we want. Redacted.
That was a mistake.
Redacted. So
yeah, you can take it. Yeah.
Yeah. Man, I had something there. I really
Sorry
did.
about that.
Okay. I'm finding that. So I guess it comes down to the people that are rejecting us basically on the name alone are looking for respectability politics, or looking at a need for respectability politics. When, as you just said, Johnny, it's clear that the system it is already a parody of itself, right? Yeah. With the fact that we have Grandpa Joe Biden who beat out Donald Trump, and you can say anything you want about Trump, and it all goes with it, but the fact that Joe Biden was electable versus Trump, it kind of tells the whole story. Trump got elected, enough people got angry that they just didn't care anymore. They just didn't care. They were ready to vote for anybody else.
It's not like there was any pressure on the DNC to at all. It was just whoever was the best, not Trump. So
yeah.
So what they did is they picked the more conservative, run of the mill blue dog Democrat out of their lineup in order to get the most votes, which is a little crazy considering he didn't actually win too much of that moderate vote, but
yeah. I mean, so if I haven't said, go ahead,
that's a tangent. We probably shouldn't get on election forecasts and what Democratic candidate would have been best. That's all. We can talk about that some other time. But yeah, I think the point is, the level of respectability politics that we need to really be respected is still intact with the name Pirate Party, considering what we're up against is sort of the thing that I'm hearing.
Yeah, I mean, I really think that if you can't get over that, if you can't understand, once we lay out why, okay, why are we the Pirate Party? Well, we're the Pirate Party because we, of what we said earlier, because of the way we were founded and what we stand for. The Pirate Party, saying we're the Pirate Party, gives us identity, because anybody that has any kind of inkling of what has been happening with piracy, copyright piracy, in the 21st century so far can identify with that name, because that's really what was the original core. Now that gives us an identity. Our the rest of our platform makes us unique, and being able to identify just by the name, is something I think is a little bit invaluable. But Johnny, you had an interesting take on this respectability politics stuff that we were talking about earlier.
Mhm.
If you want to give it a go.
Yes, it's something I noticed in my time in the Libertarian Party, and I want to expand upon what my original thought was. There is a sense of cargo cult politics when it comes, especially to minor parties. They think that the way to get respectability, the way to get power, the way to get the money and people that you need for power in politics is to be respectable, because they see the big guys, they see the Democrats and Republicans, and they see them as respectable. Nice sharp suits, nice big presentations. They're respectable. Therefore, they reason, if we're respectable, we'll get the same things. But they're putting the cart before the horse. The only reason they're seen as respectable is because they got the money and the people beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what you need to focus on. By hook or by crook, get the money and the people. That gets you the respectability. But a further subject, I think we're falling to the same trap with this podcast. Now that I think about it, there is a certain large segment of the population which is fundamentally risk adverse. We could not be the Pirate Party. We could be the Respectable Party. That could be our official name. And we could make the three-piece suit our official uniform. And we could make sure that every one of our planks is focus grouped. And it wouldn't matter. We still wouldn't be respectable enough for our people because we're an untested commodity. We're not a winner. I'm not saying we're losers. I'm just saying we're an X factor. We're unknown. We're not a winner. And a lot of people will only back winners. They won't back what they actually want. They won't even think about what they actually want. What they want is a part of the winning team. It's a whole fallacy of seeing politics as a horse race and not as a way of voicing your opinion. People like to choose a winning team.
As a team sport.
Team sport.
And that's what it's become a lot in the media. Red versus blue, that whole thing.
Right.
Where people
on one hand, they bemoan the polarization of politics, and on the other hand, they treat it like the NFL, like there's only two teams that are having the Super Bowl every weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you know what? To some extent, politics is a team sport, and you just shouldn't be ashamed to say that regardless of the inferences that can be drawn, you're on Team Pirate because that's what you believe and that's the team you're rooting for. I mean, I don't do sports that much, but I'm sure there are people out there who absolutely love like a sports team to the death, even though they absolutely suck. While we don't suck that bad, I don't think, we're winning about as often as they do. And the point is, sometimes you take bets like that, right?
That is the flip side to the American psyche. There is a portion of the American psyche that defines their personality by loving the teams that never make the playoffs. But
that's true.
This is what I love about the emphasis on local elections that the Pirate Party has. When we start winning local elections, which are easier to win than national elections because it's a smaller thing, you can concentrate on it.
Mm-hmm.
Once we start winning city councils, once we start winning county commissioner seats, stuff like that, then we could dress like pirates. We could wear the tricorn hat with the floppy boots, and that we would still be respectable because we'd won. That's what defines respectability, winning. You don't win because you're respectable. You're respectable because you win.
So I'm going to play devil's advocate for a second,
Oh
if
no.
that's all right. I want to press you on this. Obviously, I
Go
agree
ahead.
with literally everything you're saying. I mean, I ought to because I'm the chair of this thing. So yes, that is true. However, what if the lack of initial respectability and initial buy-in prevents you from winning at a higher rate proportional to if we were the super duper respectability party? Isn't that something to consider?
It is. It definitely is something to consider. But that's something to consider on the level of pure tactics, which is another thing I like about the Pirate Party is the sort of emphasis on actual problem solving over ideology. And I would put it that with our local influence and let a thousand flowers bloom approach, that we can have people going for the respectable route, and we can have people going for the full gonzo, I'm going to shave my head when I run for sheriff so I can accuse all my opponents of being long hairs route, which is what Hunter S. Thompson did. One of my favorite political stories.
I love Hunter S. Thompson. I just had to say that because he's
that may work, but my read of modern life is that we are living in an age of spectacle. We're living in an age of Donald Trump. Donald Trump got inside the White House, which means our reality is fundamentally broken. I mean, that's just what it means. So I don't think respectability is how you get a crowd nowadays. I don't think people go for the respectability people. I think people go for passion. I think people go for spectacle. I think they go for a show. I'm not saying that we should be, entertainment. I'm not saying that we should be performatively weird. I'm just saying that people are burnt out enough, stressed enough, even, I don't know, depressed enough that they don't mind a freak flag flying as much as they would have even 20 years ago. It just, we are getting closer and closer to the time where the fuck it just comes out of their mouth more and more easily. So I'm not discouraging people from being respectable. I'm not encouraging people to be performatively disrespectful. I'm just saying, what am I saying? I'm saying we shouldn't be afraid of letting our passions trump our respectability, I guess is what I'm saying. Because
own it.
Own it. Yes.
Own it.
All the things.
Own all the things. I think I really see I see that. I'm an election official. And I see that in my polling place. Now I've only got like 500 registered voters at my polling place. But even still, it's a small, very Republican city, and I still see people wanting somebody else to vote for. They want to vote for somebody else. And for whatever reason, I see people writing in Mickey Mouse. I see people writing in themselves. They do want an alternative. At the same time, there are still a lot of them that want to come in and push the R or the D button and not even think about who's on the ballot. They just want to say, go team D, go team R, go team red, go team blue. So there's a lot of both of that right now. And I think where we really can, if we can, and this is something by getting media, by earning media, because we don't have the money, right? We don't have the money. So by earning media, being a little bit out there,
and I think that is a big positive. Is when you're called the Pirate Party, media is pretty easy to earn.
Yeah. And if we start saying radical things like abolish the patent system, a lot of people think that's radical, but I mean, if you start thinking about it, it's not really that crazy because most people have heard the stories of patent trolls and that little town in Texas that has like what that one address and like 1,000 uh, PO boxes, and it's all these patent trolls are down there, and apparently they try to get everybody that they sue, they try to get them in this little town because there's this judge that just loves all these patent trolls and is always finding for them. When people learn about stuff like that and how that those systems are being abused, our I don't ideally I'd like to see copyright abolished. I don't think that's practical. I think copyright should be massively shortened and should be, things should go to the public domain a lot faster than they do. Right now it's death of the author in 70 years. Like, really?
That's
That's
only because
insane.
Disney hasn't said anything else yet.
Well, yeah, because isn't it this year is supposed to be Steamboat Willie coming up
Oh,
again?
it's soon. Though they also they did let, I mean, they let Winnie the Pooh go. So
no, actually they didn't. No, that's
sort of.
Winnie the Pooh the book was let go, not Winnie the Pooh the cartoon, which is why this new horror movie that they're starting to do doesn't wear a red shirt, because the red shirt is specific to the cartoon. The totally naked Winnie the Pooh, public domain. Winnie the Pooh wearing a red shirt, still under copyright.
Wow.
I'm not totally up with how the rights went with Winnie the Pooh, but I mean, didn't they own everything Winnie the Pooh before the original books went out? Or because I'm saying that would be a hint that maybe Disney isn't gonna be super evil and they might let their stuff go.
I don't know.
I doubt they will, but
I don't know. I mean, I don't think they may not have thought about negotiating the book rights because there's still someone actually publishing the books, not them. So they may have only optioned the movie rights. That's the thing. I don't know. One thing. What did I want to say? What did I? Oh yes. There is a general tendency in the media to make every election the most important election ever. This is the election that will either doom or save civilization.
Mm-hmm.
That's not our friend.
No.
Because that definitely encourages the whole risk-adverse behavior in Americans. When they think this is the most important election possible, they're not going to bet on a long shot. And we are a long shot. They're going to bet. They're going to be scared into betting on their lizard brain. These are people who will save me.
They're the devil,
Yeah. One lesson from the 2016. This is a lesson I drew from the 2016 election, which was, for those not following along at home, Trump versus Hillary Clinton. At the time, both of them were considered pretty much fundamentally unserious candidates. It was an election that had a remarkably low, oh my God, this is the end quotient. Now, 2000, definitely, oh my God, this is the end, because we had seen Trump in office for 4 years. But back in 2016, that anxiety was a bit lower. And I think that's one of the major reasons why Gary Johnson did as well as he did, because the election stakes, to me at least, seemed a lot lower, which allowed people the freedom to be more experimental in their voting, which is why I think he got the highest vote total ever in Libertarian Party history. I mean, he had a great campaign, he's a great candidate, all that, but I think the low stakes helped out with that, which is another reason why I'm happy that we're concentrating on local elections, because it's harder to go apocalyptic when you're doing city council.
Absolutely.
Well, I think city council and those local elections are, for the most part, immune to that, right? Which I think is really good for us. The only exception, I think, is when people do get so scared that they just go in and they vote straight ticket and they don't even consider anything that's happening locally, right? But I also think that's a fixable issue. So that really is the thing, because I mean, I fully understand and I sympathize with the vote spoiling issue, right? As much as it frustrates me. We do kind of have a bad political system, and that's why we need to get people to focus on the local elections, because if they want to see change and they want to actually vote for someone instead of against someone for once, we need to make them realize that local elections are important and that they exist and all
Well,
of this other stuff, right?
yeah, and that's another thing is there's a lot of people that they only come out every 4 years
Mhm.
for
Yeah.
the quote unquote most important election of our lifetime, and
If
the
that, they
real
might only come out every 8 or 12.
the
Right.
truth of the matter is your local elections are more important than nearly any other elections that you might participate in, because those are the people that are going to be governing your township, your city, your county. uh you know it, those are the people that are the closest to you. Those are the people that they also are people that live in your community, and that you can have access to those people a hell of a lot easier, and share your personal views on things than any other level of elected official. And so if you elect people that are willing to listen, and you elect people, good people that are not part of the local corrupt establishment, because that is another thing a lot of people don't understand, is that politics are local and they're highly corrupt, even
Mm.
in your town. Believe me, I've been involved in local politics for over 10 years now, and it blew my mind the first year or two when I found out how dirty and how corrupt local politics really is. And that, how corrupt the local uh, and sometimes it's just I scratch your back, you scratch mine favoritism stuff.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's nepotism. Sometimes it's just giving favors to we're best friends. I'm gonna give him the contract, and
Mhm.
and he's gonna put in a fake bid. I'm gonna give him the tips to get a low bid in. And sometimes it goes all the way up to money just walking out the back door of the courthouse. Um,
Yeah. Oh yeah, there are things that I've been asked not to say regarding the goings on of multiple southern Indiana cities.
yeah. And I was asked to have a sit down at one point when I was running for city council, and I was just like, no, I'm just not. It's just not happening. I'm gonna maintain my integrity here, and not get involved in a dirty back room, whatever. They can, we can talk about it if I get elected. Now I didn't get elected, but um, so that didn't end up being a thing, but. But yeah, local elections are important, and a lot of people need to learn that. And if more people came out and stood up, they'd have less to complain about. Come mid year, when the city council is doing something that you think is absolutely asinine or ridiculous, or raising your taxes. Because local governments have a ton of power over the amount of taxes that you pay as well.
And
Um,
I think a lot of people don't really realize that you know the federal government can't do everything that they do by themselves. A
mhm.
lot of things, whether it be where specifically funding is allocated to or things like that, come down to your local government. So if you're worried about your federal government or you don't want this or that to happen, in some cases, your local government can really be a bastion for that sort of stuff too. I mean, it really is important.
Mhm.
It's not we sort of
Yeah,
have
it's
our, our,
called
our
not.
system of federalism for a reason, right?
Yeah.
They do have control over some things every once in a while. So if you're worried about this or that, it's important, whether it be local or state, to be involved, because I think that people don't really realize how much power state and local governments have.
Oh, it really is. It really is amazing. Um, what a difference your city and county government can make. Um, good and bad. You can have the good side that nullifies some federal bullshit or even state bullshit that if they decide to fight it. Um, and there's also the side of it where they're just out of touch and they don't care. Like they don't care about people's freedoms. They don't care about people's money. They're just going to do whatever they want because they're in power. And it takes a lot to get people out of those positions. And here in my county, we've got the threat of an old county commissioner who a lot of people hated, but still a lot of people voted for, coming back for re-election next year. And I don't look forward to that, because he was one of the ones that was partially responsible for a lot of money running out of the backside of the courthouse. Mm-hmm. So yeah. So anyways, local elections matter. So don't let anybody tell you any different. And we, it is building, but so local elections, that's where we're focusing, and local elections let us build the farm team, right?
Right.
That's where we go from here. We get the respect. It's not even respect. It's just the
proof that we can do what we're saying we want to do.
Yeah. We get the weight of we've been elected for the last 2 years or 4 years or whatever at this local level. Now let's take our ideas to the next step. Let's take them to the county level. Let's take them to the state legislature and really push state politics now. And then eventually we get stuff where we can push for statewide elections because we've been doing a good job in the legislature or at the county executive level. And then from there we get governors and people elected to Congress, then you're there you are. You are an absolute political force at that point.
And hopefully that means that when we do actually have a presidential candidate, his main qualification will not be running a shitty podcast.
Yeah. I would say that when we get to a point where we have a serious presidential candidate, I don't necessarily, as much as, I love Vermin. I love Vermin Supreme. I'm putting that on the record right now. He is a great dude. And as long as we really don't have a shot at the presidency, as long as we're going to be under 10% of the vote, I would put Vermin Supreme up every freaking year. But if we got to the point where we've got governors and we've got people in Congress, those are the people that we should be running, right? And that's nothing against Vermin, because Vermin's message is awesome, and I agree with it like 100%.
I agree with you on one proviso.
What's that?
Well, as I've said, we live in America, and America is fundamentally broken. So it's entirely conceivable that we will get, at some point, through some satanic confluence of fate, a governor or senator supreme. Think about it. That is not the craziest thing that could possibly happen.
No,
it's crazy,
no, it's not.
But not the craziest. So if we get Vermin Supreme in an actual office, and then he runs for president, I would definitely support that.
Yeah, that you're right. If he's in a national level of office, and that means a governor or in the Congress somewhere, yeah, I would definitely support him if we're at that level.
To get this back on track a little bit, the Pirate Party won't. We've we really don't run presidential candidates because it's not where our focus is on.
Right.
We would make an exception for Vernon if you wanted to, but that's not that's not where our focus is, because we really are focused at that local level, which is, I think that's important when we're talking about the overall point of what all this is supposed to be about, right? Which is, we're not trying to run a presidential candidate with pirate next to their name out of nowhere while we're still sort of, reviving a party that in like 2017 really wasn't doing too well. That's not what we're doing, because at the heart of what we do here, we try to be pragmatists, and that's just not about our policy and how we advocate about making a better, freer world, making sure all the stuff that we do makes sense. That's also about how we try and do things internally. So no, we're aware that the name pirate is silly. We just don't think that should stop us from anything. We don't think it has to, and we don't think it will, so long as that we play our cards right and we know what to do. And once you join the pirate party, you become really, really proud of being a pirate, and you don't let it go. And when someone suggests, "Oh, maybe you should change the name," you once you're in, this is a cult, and once you're in,
This is why I feel so comfortable. Okay.
it doesn't happen. Though I will say, I do want to play devil's advocate again.
Uh-oh. Not
To
again.
both of you.
Okay.
What do you say to someone who says, "Yeah, I like it a lot, but I think you should change the name"? I don't know if I like the name, but I would join if and only if you changed the name.
I haven't gotten that exact question. I've gotten the "I'm with you except."
Mhm.
Okay. And there is no, at that point there's not really an expectation of changing the name. I get the "I'm with you except the name. I can't get over the name." And that's where I say, well, do you know like the background of the name, and like do you know what the context is in the 21st century of copyright and information piracy, and that information should be free, and that we need to protect our personal information against spying and all that. And that's why we're the pirate party, because it's the anti-authoritarian side of pirates, and going along with the piracy stuff that we talked about earlier, and the historical context of where we very much fall in line with historical pirates as far as being democratic, being pragmatic, and being egalitarian, and being welcoming of everybody. And if you really look at the history of pirates, they were the only groups of people where they oftentimes freed slaves. Now there were some, they oftentimes freed slaves. They oftentimes had people of color in their crews. They oftentimes, even though there weren't a whole lot of women, there were women pirates. They were very sexually free. They were very and just very democratic, and you very rarely actually had mutinies on a pirate ship, because the crew had the ability to just vote a captain out. And so the proto-democratic side of things in actual ancient, and when I say ancient, I'm talking like the 1600s, 1700s pirates, is really a foundation for a lot of what later became the founding of the United States. That kind of ethos came along, and was those same ideas propagated to others, and pirates really pioneered a lot of that stuff. So if I say that stuff to people, they get it. They start to get it, but a lot of people just say, I just still can't get over that. You're not serious. Well, you know what? Honestly, just having that name there, to me, it identifies us. It makes us unique. It lets you know what we're about, even if you know nothing about us. So We're not just a pirate party because we like the name.
Mm.
We're the pirate party because we embody that. And we, and that's one of our core values is we actively live by those core values. And to me, that's one of the things I love about this party. And one of the things that really, really brought me in were those things. So I'll tell everybody that, the name is proudly the name. And I just explain why. So I don't know how you handle it, Johnny.
I don't answer that question because it's not the question they're actually asking. The question they're actually asking is, I don't see how you win.
Mm-hmm.
That's really what the question's about. And the only way I think to show people how you win is to win. So the only thing I can say to someone who says, well, I like you guys, but the name is throwing me off, or I like you guys, but you use a pirate flag as your logo, I can't get behind that, or I like you guys, but any variation on I like you guys, but I think the only real answer is, well, wait till November or wait until we run a candidate, because they're asking for they're asking this, no, how do you win? Because I don't see how you win. And that's what we have to show them. It's not a quick answer, and maybe it won't be a very satisfactory answer if you don't win. But what they're asking for is a display of competency, a display of the power that you think you have by running as a candidate. So that's what we have to show them. When they say, I like you, but say, well, you like me better when I win. That's the only way.
I think that's an awesome answer, actually. I really like that. And it does sort of remind me of, I think part of the stigma that I've seen, at least in my conversations with people, does kind of have to do with the old school pirates, not just because they're silly, but, the mental image people get is, oh, they were pirates, they killed people and burned stuff down or whatever, right? And my response to that, what goes through my head, but when I sort of hear people talk about that is, right, look, if you're backing any political tradition, if you are backing or invested in, the conservative political tradition, the liberal political tradition, the neoliberal political tradition, or the socialist political tradition, whatever have you, and you use those symbols and those iconographies and those philosophies and those books, no matter which one you pick, oh boy, you have a lot of blood on your hands.
Yes, indeed.
There is no way you can get around that. No matter what, no matter who you are, your ideology, people you would have agreed with, people that use the same symbols you would have used, have done a lot of really, really bad things. So when people, come to the pirate party and they're like, well, yeah, but isn't that, sort of optically bad? I'm like, well,
No.
chances are you're still voting for the party that kept segregation in place.
Yeah, are you voting
or if you're not, you're voting for the party that wants to go back to it right now. Either one. If you're a duopoly voter, I'm sorry, you're screwed on this front.
Yes.
I agree with you. Yeah, you're either the party that was of slavery, or the party that wants to basically put people of color back in that place.
Yeah.
Oh, but I'm against parties. I just want to have honest ideas like George Washington did. Oh, George Washington, whose teeth were made from the teeth of slaves and who put down a rebellion of Americans who wanted the promised jubilee of debt that was never delivered. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, no moral quandary there.
Yeah, there's you just can't get out of it. No matter what, because because your tangential relations to things that are tangentially related isn't what matters when it comes to politics, right? It's what you actually believe, and it's what you're actually saying, and it's about your ability to talk to people about what you actually believe and what you're actually saying. This isn't actually a knock against any system or philosophy or values that came before the pirate party. I'm just saying that using pirate symbolism is nowhere near uniquely sketchy.
Who is more anti-authoritarian than pirates?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Nobody. Who better to, if there is going to be a redistribution of wealth to the people, who better to do that than pirates? I mean,
Yeah.
everybody else is a slave to corporate money.
We don't have any money, so
We don't
can't
have
be
any money.
slaves.
That's right. We're not beholden to anybody because we don't have any money. Any generous donors can gladly contact me or Johnny to send us some money.
We want to
I mean, and we'll gladly spend it on politics. I don't need to spend it on myself. I'm fine. I'm okay.
I can be bought and sold.
I mean, I can be bought to an extent. I mean, I consider myself an honest politician, per Robert Heinlein, one that stays bought. But no, I'm sticking with my core value. These are my core values. I'm here. I'm here to fight it out. We're gonna fight it out. We're gonna build this up and fight it out, and really make it go. And that's what I think. And how many surveys do you see that say we need a viable third party? A viable third party is just what Johnny was saying. Is one that wins. Well, you can't win if people don't get behind you, and we need to. And so many of these other third parties are coming out as with essentially no identity, right? I mean, some of them are very generic and very. I mean, you were just talking the other day about the Stare Party, right? Like, what are they about? I don't know. I couldn't hardly tell anything but some very generic terms.
Or the Forward Party is what really comes to my mind.
The
right?
Forward Party does come to mind, and I mean, a lot of that. And from what I've seen from them, they're less concerned about actual electoral politics and more about pushing certain ideologies, and that's fine. That means you're more of a PAC than you are a political party.
Well, they are a PAC.
Yeah. Well, okay. So, granted, and in our own state, there's the very milquetoast Keystone Party, which came from a bunch of libertarian people that were disenfranchised. And I don't know, I haven't really
all
seen
these
a party.
parties use purple, don't they?
Yeah,
we use purple too, but we try and throw some other colors in there.
Yeah, I'm just good. I'm good with the black and white. I just fly the black and white because it makes it cheaper to print. And anybody with a basic laser printer can print it. So it makes printing lots of things a lot less expensive. So if we have logos that are in black and white, there's no issues with having to spend a lot of money on color. That's just a practical thing. So yeah, we need to show that we can win, and I think we can win, and I think we need to get buy-in from a certain critical mass of people in order to get those wins, right? So you need people to say, okay, I see where you're going, and I'm willing to stand up and run for election, despite maybe having a little misgivings about the name. And that's the truth.
And I think something else also that we need to realize, just generally in our country within politics, is that it's not always about being a major party. I think people, they think about, third party politics, and they're like, oh, they're not successful or whatever. But I mean, it's almost like we have no real concept of a minor party within American politics. We don't even call them minor parties. We call them third parties. But the reality of the situation is there is nothing wrong with a small political party running a certain slate of candidates to try and advance a certain set of niche issues within a country. Other countries do that all the time. There's no shame in that. I'm not saying that we shouldn't shoot for the moon, but I'm saying Americans almost feel a weird sense of shame in that. Like they don't want to back that because there's no reason to.
Because
the Pirate Party will probably never have a pirate president, right? That's
like
not
the
what we're trying
rent
to
is
do
too
here.
damn high party, right?
Yeah.
Like there's
Yeah,
that.
yeah. That's not what we're trying to do here. We're trying
Because
to
it doesn't
just
go along with the
Yeah,
whole team sports mentality.
yeah. We're just trying to advocate for political change and spreading our, our beliefs, our ideology. It's not about how popular it is. It's about advocating for that change and getting that change done. Pirate parties, except in some countries where they really kill it, like the Czech Republic and Iceland, are for the most part just mainstay minor parties in all sorts of countries around the world that you can count on to be there when you feel like you need a pirate for that office at that time to advocate for those beliefs. And yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's no shame in that. Our goal is, as much as I'd love for us to get even bigger, is essentially that. We want to be reliable. When you think that you need a pirate in your city council board because you think that that's the right option at that time.
Live streaming is on.
Are we back?
Yes, we are back. Sorry about that, everybody. It kicks us out at a hard 1 hour. And so we're gonna do kind of final thoughts here.
I'm done. I've
you're done.
rambled.
You're good. You're good.
Oh, I need to ramble. Yeah.
Do you have any final thoughts though?
Don't be afraid to back a wacky minor party every once in a while. We're not. I guess that sort of goes with what I was just ranting on about earlier. Is that we get in this team sports mentality with politics, but we're not going to be upset if you have, an open relationship with the pirate party, right? We're not asking you to vote straight ticket pirate.
No.
We're just asking you to consider us when you see us on the ballot and to consider helping out. Right. And I think that that's the main takeaway is no, probably never going to have a pirate president. That's not the goal. Your reservations about the name don't have to be considered in relation to, oh God, but what if, we want the federal, candidates one day? What if we want senators? What if we want a president? That's not really what we're here for.
So unlike the Libertarian Party that wants to take over the world and leave everybody alone, we just want to influence things and actually make some actual progress in directions that actually give people some true movement in the freedom direction.
Yeah.
That's my takeaway of it. What do you got, Johnny?
I don't know what you two are blathering about. I am in this purely to bring back tricorn hats and the popularity of parrots as pets. That's all I'm here for.
Parrots and cats.
Parrots and cats on every shoulder. That's all I'm here for. Also, to make Vermin Supreme Captain in Chief of the United Flotilla of America. That's
strangely, I could get behind that. I think I could get behind that.
Yes.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. I really appreciate it. I think these discussions that we have are gonna be very helpful to people. And moving on, we're gonna try and do this just for everybody to notice. We're gonna try and do this every other week instead of an every week thing. And we had a bit of a break there for the Pirate Party National Conference. Because we were involved in that, and it was a lot of work to try and do this too. Mm-hmm. So we'll try and do this again in 2 weeks. And thanks for joining us or watching us later, or just tuning in and listening to part of it. And don't worry about that pirate label. I wear it proudly. AJ clearly wears it proudly. And I'm pretty sure Johnny wears it proudly too. So, fly that freak flag, whatever freak flag that is. So,
hopefully we'll be able to have your very own pirate flags on sale somewhere soon, so you can actually fly the pirate flag. I don't know when we're going to get that done. I know you can order them from Europe, but that's not always feasible for everyone.
I am
But-
looking into getting some printed.
Nice.
It's just not something I have had in my own personal budget yet, so we'll get there. Had some other things to get nailed down first. So,
Yeah.
all right. Thank you, everybody, and have a great night.